Hello, everybody. It's Shelley, and this is number 11 of Snowed, the Michael Snow is a fraud story. I left off and I sort of hinted at the mystery woman. So in November of 2019, my parents were up at the University Hospital in Saskatoon. My dad had an appointment to have his pacemaker checked, and they ran into Mr. Snow, and he was holding hands with a blonde woman, quite a good looking woman, as my dad says. And he turned beet red when he saw my parents. And he kind of made some sort of excuse and quickly turned the other way, and off he went with his lady friend. So, immediately to try to, cover his tracks, he texts me. And I'm going to show you the text. So if you'll have a look here, and you can see this was November 15th, 2019, he's trying to cover his tracks. He says to me, "Hey, sexy, guess who I just ran into?" And of course, you can read this. Jason's family. Now, I told you it was Bob or, Jim Bob or Jojo. So he's using the name Jason for the Hutterite family. So go ahead and have a look at that. There's more. Now, unfortunately, Jason died. Such a tragedy. It's such a tragedy. Yeah, he was young. So sorry for Jason and the blonde that was so upset that Mr. Snow had to hold her hand. Brings me to tears. So, blonde mystery woman in tight jeans, holding Mr. Snow's hand in the University Hospital in November of 2019. If you recognize yourself, please feel free to reach out. I don't have a name for you. So as well, by the fall of 2019, Mr. Snow had already at that point ruined a very close family relationship. This family member was very much duped and strung along and manipulated by Mr. Snow. He tried to warn me. I was far too brainwashed at that point. And when you have someone like Mr. Snow breathing right down your neck, denying, making up stories, placing the blame on the other person, it's really difficult to see the truth. It's the manipulation. Again, if you truly don't understand how this is happening, you're missing the point. The point is he's incredibly, he's a pathological liar and he's a master manipulator. I know that now. He's also ruined many of my long-term friendships. I've lost many really good friendships because of him. And all I can say to these people is I'm sorry. Please forgive me for bringing his chaos and manipulation into your lives. I hope at some point you can find it in your heart to forgive me, because I am really sorry. So some of you have mentioned that you can't find my Facebook page. This is what it looks like when you go onto Facebook and just put in Michael Snow is a fraud. It should come up. But that is what it looks like. That's what you're looking for. And there's some other content on there that I had posted previous to this. So that'll be entertaining if you want to have a look at that. I also did want to point out, I did know that Mr. Snow owned a Hummer, and this is a photo of the Hummer with kayaks on top that he showed me. And I do believe he did own that Hummer. Mr. Snow on motorcycles, Harley, again, the Hummer in the back. Whether it was his bike or not, I have no idea. Mr. Snow with airplanes, again, it's the whole take a picture of me, look, I'm a pilot. I don't know if he was on a trip, just happened to see the plane. I don't know. Another one. Do I believe he was a pilot? No, I do not. So by the fall of 2019, September, in fact, of 2019, my mental health was really taking a beating. It was, the money was tight. I was really nervous. I was really doubting Mr. Snow at this point, and I think he knew it. Because he had been traveling, I recall that he was in BC someplace, and he called me randomly out of the blue, and he said, babe, I have great news. I was like, what's that? He said, I just got a phone call from my accountant. They say that the audit should be done in the next couple of weeks, like 2 weeks at the most. And Oh, I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. I was so excited. And then he said to me, not only that, it's been such a rough go. My boat sold. I got an offer on my boat for 1.6 million. So like 2 weeks to go. We've got $50,000 this guy put down. It's in escrow, and that should only be 2 more weeks, and that boat sale should be done. So at that point, I had just felt like the weight of the world had lifted off my shoulders. And Mr. Snow was again talking about the future and building a house and house plans and sailboats and trips and things he was going to buy. And the first thing he was going to do when his money came unlocked and all these things with renewed vigor. Again, it was future faking, future faking, future faking. So that's the fall of 2019. And we all know early 2020, COVID hit. And I can't make this shit up. But as luck would have it, they pulled CRA pulled all the auditors off and put them on the CERB program. This worked really well for Mr. Snow. I mean, this lie fell into his hands. It was, so, here we were again. It was beyond his control. Golly. So I'm not really thrilled to put my personal life out in the world. I think I've made that clear. But have a look at this. This is some of my bank stuff that I was in February. You can see February of 2020. I was texting to Mr. Snow and I was saying, like, you got to do something about this. Like, at this point, I was $150,000 in debt that he had put me in. I had no debt when I met Mr. Snow. And that does not include the cash that was gone out of my savings account, out of my US account, the sale of my building. It doesn't account for any of that. So, just so you know, I'm not I'm not kidding when I say this stuff. It's right there. So along with funding Mike's lifestyle on what I was loaning him this money, I was paying my own bills. I was paying my mortgage. I was paying my car payment. I was also making that Jeep payment, don't forget. But I was also making his Range Rover payment. And we're going to talk more about that Range Rover. Don't forget the Range Rover. It's very important because I will be telling this woman's story. I was making his ex-wife's car payment because that was a payment he was supposed to be making. But of course, he couldn't because, his money was all tied up. So there were times she would send money. I don't believe he actually put it on the car payment because at one point that car did get repossessed. So I was also paying for the storage unit where he was storing this plane that didn't actually fly. I was paying for his shop where he was storing all of his toys that he'd also bought on my dime and that he'd brought from Ontario. Up until this point, Mike had not brought any money into this relationship at all. He did acquire some money from his ex-wife, and I was told that she knew that he was being audited and that his boat had sold and the money was coming right away. So she was okay with, giving him money. And that he would be paying her back right away. So that was what I knew to be true. He did get money from another woman, a friend that he'd known for many years, he said, before he went to prison the first time. He had been texting her heavily, and she did give him $8,000. However, her son was very, very angry and said to Mr. Snow, if you don't put that money back in my mom's account, within so many days, I'm going to the police. Mr. Snow was very agitated about that. And once again, Julie, his ex-wife, bailed him out and paid that debt. Stay tuned for number 12.